Have you ever heard of someone with incredible strength and a divine purpose, yet marred by tragic flaws? Samson, one of the Bible's most fascinating figures, was born to deliver Israel from the Philistines. Imagine a man who could tear a lion apart with his bare hands and defeat his enemies through sheer might and cunning. Yet, his weakness for Philistine women, especially Delilah, led to his downfall. Despite his capture, Samson's story ends with a heroic act of redemption, turning his defeat into victory. Join us as we discover the captivating tale of Samson, a testament to human complexity and divine intervention. The story of Samson unfolds during a dark period in Israel's history when the nation repeatedly turned away from God, leading to cycles of sin, oppression, and deliverance. The Philistines, a formidable seafaring people, were one of Israel's most persistent enemies, known for their military prowess and advanced iron weapons. The Philistine oppression lasted for 40 years, creating a context of despair and longing for deliverance among the Israelites. Amid this backdrop of suffering, Manoah and his wife, a Danite couple living in Zorah, were childless. In ancient Israel, barrenness was seen as a significant misfortune. However, their situation took a miraculous turn when an angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife, announcing that she would bear a son. This announcement was extraordinary, not only because it promised a child but also because it outlined a divine mission and a Nazirite vow for the child from birth. The angel instructed Manoah's wife to abstain from wine, strong drink, and unclean foods, as her son would be a Nazirite. This lifelong vow of consecration to God was unusual, as most Nazirite vows were temporary and voluntary. The vow included abstaining from wine and strong drink, avoiding contact with dead bodies, and not cutting one's hair. These practices symbolized a life set apart for God's service. Manoah's wife relayed the message to her husband, who prayed for further guidance. God answered his prayer, and the angel reappeared, reiterating the instructions. Manoah, overwhelmed by the encounter, prepared a burnt offering. As the flame blazed up from the altar, the angel ascended in the flame, confirming the divine nature of the message. The couple named their son Samson, meaning son, symbolizing the hope and deliverance he would bring to Israel. Samson grew, and the Lord blessed him. The Spirit of the Lord began to stir in him while he was in Mahanadan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. His extraordinary strength became evident early on, marking him as unique and destined for greatness. This divine empowerment set the stage for his future exploits against the Philistines. As a young man, Samson went to Timnah and saw a Philistine woman who pleased him. Despite his parents' objections to marrying outside the Israelite community, Samson insisted, sensing that this marriage was part of God's plan to confront the Philistines. On his way to arrange the marriage, a young lion attacked him. Empowered by the Spirit of the Lord, Samson tore the lion apart with his bare hands. This act demonstrated his supernatural strength and divine favor. Later, returning to Timnah for the wedding, Samson found bees and honey in the lion's carcass. He ate some honey and gave some to his parents without telling them its source. This incident inspired a riddle he posed at his wedding feast to 30 Philistine men: out of the eater, something to eat; out of the strong, something sweet. He wagered 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes on the riddle. When the Philistines couldn't solve it, they coerced Samson's wife to extract the answer from him. She succeeded, and the men answered the riddle. Enraged by their deceit, Samson went to Ashkelon, killed 30 men, took their garments, and gave them to those who had answered the riddle, then left his wife in anger. After cooling down, Samson returned to Timnah to reconcile with his wife, only to find that she had been given to his companion. This betrayal ignited his desire for vengeance. He caught 300 foxes, tied their tails together in pairs with torches, and set them loose in the Philistine grain fields, burning their crops, vineyards, and olive groves. This act of destruction led to further conflict as the Philistines retaliated by burning his wife and her father to death. Enraged, Samson attacked and killed many Philistines, vowing not to stop until he had avenged himself. Samson then retreated to a cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines, seeking retribution, camped in Judah. The men of Judah, fearing Philistine retaliation, went to Samson to bind him and hand him over. Samson allowed himself to be bound, but, when brought to Lehi, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. He broke the ropes and, using the jawbone of a donkey, killed 1,000 Philistines. After this battle, Samson, exhausted and thirsty, called upon God, who miraculously provided water from a hollow place in Lehi, reviving him. Despite his Nazirite vow and divine calling, Samson had a weakness for Philistine women. This weakness ultimately led to his downfall. He fell in love with Delilah, who lived in the valley of Sorek. The Philistine leaders, recognizing an opportunity, offered her a substantial bribe to discover the secret of Samson's strength. Delilah, driven by the promise of wealth, repeatedly coaxed Samson to reveal his secret. On 3 occasions, Samson misled her, providing false explanations for his strength. On the 4th attempt, after persistent nagging, Samson revealed the truth: his strength lay in his uncut hair, a symbol of his Nazirite vow to God. Delilah took advantage of this knowledge and, while he slept, had his hair shaved off. This act severed his connection to the Nazirite vow and the divine strength it conferred. Consequently, the Lord departed from him, and Samson was easily captured by the Philistines. The Philistines seized Samson, gouged out his eyes, and took him to Gaza. There, he was bound with bronze shackles and forced to grind grain in prison, a humiliating and degrading task usually reserved for animals or slaves. Over time, however, his hair began to grow back, symbolizing the potential for his strength to return and hinting at God's continued presence in his life. The Philistines organized a great celebration in their temple to their god Dagon, celebrating their victory over Samson. They brought Samson out to entertain them, making a spectacle of him in his weakened state. Blind and humbled, Samson asked a servant to place him between the 2 central pillars of the temple. He prayed to God, asking to be remembered and granted strength one last time to avenge the loss of his eyes. God granted his prayer, and with renewed strength, Samson pushed against the pillars with all his might. The temple collapsed, killing himself and about 3,000 Philistines, including many of their leaders. In his death, Samson destroyed more Philistines than he had during his life, striking a significant blow to Israel's enemies. Samson's family retrieved his body and buried him in the tomb of his father Manoah. His life, marked by divine empowerment, personal failings, and ultimate redemption, highlights the complexities of his Nazirite vow and his role as a judge of Israel. Despite his flaws and moral lapses, Samson is remembered as a deliverer who, through his final act of faith and strength, achieved a great victory for Israel. Samson's story underscores several themes. Divine calling and empowerment ***. Samson's strength and exploits were directly tied to his Nazirite vow and the Spirit of the Lord. His story illustrates how God empowers individuals for specific purposes. Moral weakness and consequences ***. Samson's personal failings, particularly his susceptibility to temptation and his relationships with Philistine women, led to his downfall. His life demonstrates the dangers of straying from one's divine commitments. Redemption and final victory ***. Despite his failings, Samson's final act of faith and strength brought redemption and a significant victory for Israel. His story concludes with a message of hope and the possibility of redemption through renewed faith in God. Samson's life serves as a powerful reminder of the potential for both greatness and downfall within each individual, the enduring mercy of God, and the ultimate triumph of divine purposes despite human weaknesses.